Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Today, the punch press is finally a usable tool in the shop. I have a motor mount on it, I have a motor and a belt. It's on a stand or a base so I can move it around on the pallet jack. And I painted a funny face on it, just for fun. Let me bring you in and show you exactly what I did to it. And let's talk about punch presses for a little bit. So the motor mount here is very simple. It's just a bolt holding on a plate and a chunk of C-channel that's been welded to it. The hole was already there, so I just used it. Motor's mounted up to it, bolted to this chunk of C-channel with a big belt, a big V-belt on it. Now the base is made out of 6-inch I-beam that I cut up and welded to some thick wall angle iron. That's 3/8 inch wall with the 6-inch I-beam. It's offset because the punch press is offset. All of the weight here is about right here, about right where this leg is. That's because this flywheel is incredibly heavy and this body is quite heavy. And if you look at it from the side, a lot of the weight is forwards. And that puts almost all of the weight, or not all of it, but a huge amount of the weight on this foot here. And so to keep this machine stable, to keep it from falling on me, I bolted it to this platform. And I made the platform longer in this direction and also in this direction. Now, one thing I want to talk about before we get into what a punch press does is how dangerous these machines are. This machine puts down 20 tons of pressure in less than a second. If there's anything in the way of that 20 tons of pressure, of this ram that stops it, that stops this flywheel, well, all the energy in the flywheel has to go somewhere. Either A, it's going to completely shatter the die, it's going to just crush and break and just cause carnage, or all of that energy, that rotational energy in the flywheel, is going to cause this whole machine to kick forwards, because that's the direction that it spins. So they're incredibly dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, if your dies are not set up correctly. The way I'm going to be using it, all of the dies are going to be self-contained. That way I don't have to worry about alignment. All the alignment done in my dies, mostly for punching. All of that's going to be done at the milling machine, so I'm not going to have to worry about that as much. So that's also another reason for the base, not just for stability, but if there is an accident, if this ram meets something that it causes it to stop very suddenly, it will prevent it from falling over and crushing me, essentially. Now that we've talked about the danger of this machine, let's turn it on. Now at the moment, I have the motor just wired directly to this plug. There's no switch. I do need to add a switch. That is one little thing I need to do, but for now it works. And the motor doesn't draw a huge amount of amperage, so I'm not super worried about it. So now that I've shown you exactly what this punch press does, all it does is bring this ram down 1.5 inches and then it brings it back up. It delivers 20 tons of force. Now, how is that useful in the shop? It's, if you think about it, 1.5 inch stroke, that's not useful for much. You can't use it like a shop press or a hydraulic press that has a much longer stroke. It's not as adjustable. You can't use as much. It's not as useful as something like a shop press or other machines. Now where this machine comes into play is whenever you have special dies that complete specific jobs. things like punches and corner notchers and different things like that. For example, this square washer, used as a fastener, could be easily created on a punch press. I could have a shearing die to stamp this out of sheet stock or flat bar to stamp out the square. Then I could have another die to punch out the hole. It's something I could create thousands upon thousands of with the right tooling. Another example would be this here right angle bracket. I could blank it, which means to make a flat sheet of your part and press it out, blank it, and then punch out all these holes, stamp it, and bend it using this machine. I could make thousands upon thousands of these. You guys saw how quickly that ram came down and came back up. A little more complicated part would be this guy right here with these notches. I could make a die where I just shove the corner in and it'll notch out this part here, or this little channel, and it could also notch out the corner. I could do that and make, again, thousands. Again, I could make a blanking die to make these blanks. I could also, there's a knockout here that you would use a screwdriver to knock it out, have a hole in the middle, and be able to run a wire through it. I can make dies to make those. More complicated parts like this I could do with compound bends and many stamped holes or punched holes, but what I'm going to use it for in my shop is not to make these things. I don't need to make little stamped pieces out of sheet metal like this or this. And I certainly don't need to be making any of these. What I'm going to be using it for is mostly punching holes for forged products, things like bottle openers and tongs. Not only that, but also the production of things like barbecue utensils. Spatulas, I could use it for riveting. There's a huge amount of things, not just stamping out sheet metal, but there's a huge amount of things I can do with this. I could put tapered dies in it and make tapered spikes for marshmallow roasting sticks. I could use it to rivet tongs together. I could do all sorts of things with this. Now, I don't yet know if I'm going to mostly use this for hot work or for cold work. I imagine I'm going to use it mostly for hot work, but I have no idea yet because I don't have a specific job for this yet. Now, hopefully I'll be making some dies for it here soon, just to do some smaller projects. I have a project where I want to make caterpillar tracks for a homemade bulldozer, and I'd like to make the tracks on this machine. Die making like that is going to be hopefully a staple of the channel now. Well, now we all know what this machine does and what it's capable of. This machine is going to be an amazing addition to the shop. Once again, thank you to Adam from Small Town Machine Shop for giving me this machine. It was in a pretty sorry state when I got it, but it's such an incredibly simple mechanism that it was super easy to restore. That's probably the only reason it was easy to restore. These machines, they essentially built this country, and they built almost every country on the planet. Without these machines doing production work, making all kinds of parts like body panels for cars and stamped out steel rims and valve covers, and just machines like this made those. And tool and die workers worked for just an incredible amount of time making the dies that made all the products that we buy today. Well, today most things are plastic injected. Maybe 30 to 40 years ago they made pretty much everything you'd buy. Now, this one's a pretty small one, but it's a perfect size for the shop, and it's going to see a lot of use. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And check out Adam from Small Town Machine Shop. He has an amazing channel too. At the moment he's restoring a step-toe metal shaper, and that is going to be a fun little project. So have a good day.